are now listening to the Rough Tumble Podcast.
Yo, what's up, everybody? This is the Rough Tumble Podcast. This is March 22nd, 2020. What an interesting week we've had. So we actually wanted to do a live stream earlier today. We did do a live stream earlier today on Instagram, and it did not go as planned. It was originally intended to be on YouTube, and we were going to do it for our Patreon subscribers, and then publish that as the episode. However, things didn't go, they didn't work out. Just didn't happen that way. I moved everything around in the studio so that we could do like a different kind of view, like you're seeing now, if you're watching the YouTube video, and just botched everything, screwed everything up. Our Wi-Fi was down. It was bad. So I got it figured out now, but we are 30 straight weeks of having a podcast episode, and I could not let it die. I just can't. Nope, I'm not going to do it. Putting my foot down. So this is the lonely episode with me by myself, Jonny Wester. I have no idea how this is going to go, and this is probably going to be a total shit show, but we're going to try it out and see how it goes anyways. But yeah, it's kind of fitting. Everybody's quarantined, and now I'm here by myself doing an episode with nobody here. It's kind of strange. Like, where's Mitch? Maybe I should sit in the middle a little bit more so that fill in that spot. So yeah, we did he came over today and we did a live Instagram feed, and it was actually a lot of fun. It kind of smoothed out. The video's not good, but the audio came out on the Instagram feed, which was okay, and we got to interact with everybody a little bit. I'm sorry, y'all. I tried figuring that shit out. It was a nightmare. I streamed it last night. I had it set up. Like, I did a little test stream. It worked out great. I don't know what happened, if this coronavirus got everybody all up on the Wi-Fi and blocking me, but I could not get the stream going. It just kept telling me I had bad Wi-Fi connectivity and that the stream wasn't going to work and so on and so forth. It was bad. Anyways, we got to get on there and talk and answer some questions. So I figured one of the things that I would do is try to answer some of the questions that we were asked on there. Some of the questions that y'all sent in and asked us, and I'll just go over kind of I'll give Mitch his opinion too. He's not here, so fuck him. This is the Jonny Wester show right now. This microphone might fall down, and then we might have not a show. But so here's some of the stuff that we talked about. Somebody had asked if we could roll with anybody past or present. Who would it be? I said Fernando today. I love the way that he moves. I love his pacing, which is just crazy nonstop. Like, it's just go, 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 go. And I really like that approach to the game. Obviously it needs to be like technical and well thought out, but there's something for just taking it to a motherfucker and making them regret being there that day, And I feel like Teddy always did that competitively. It didn't matter how big or small or whoever it was he was going against, he took it to them. And so I've always really liked that about Fernando today. It's really sad, his whole story. I wish somebody would do a good documentary on him. There's been a couple like attempts at it, but nothing really in depth, especially not in English. I think it'd be a really cool subject matter for a documentary. You know what? We might do an episode on Fernando today. I can't believe that I'm just now thinking about that. I'm gonna write that down. Writing it down right now in my book. Fernando Today episode. This is why Jonny does podcasts by himself now. Because it's brilliant. We're getting stuff done. I just came up with a whole episode. I don't know if that's a whole episode worth, but we'll see. We'll come back around to it. One of the other questions was pick a metal artist that you could have on the podcast. Like one metal artist, who would it be? I said Jacob Bannon from Converge, the lead singer of Converge. He's also a really, really talented mixed media artist. He did the cover of Jane Doe by Converge. He's done like all of their album artwork as far as I know. He's done a lot of other big metal bands artwork. And he seems like a really interesting, cool guy. I'd love to be able to talk to him. Favorite thing, one of the other questions was favorite thing about Mitch. What's my favorite thing about Mitch, and what's Mitch's favorite thing about me? And I told the story. I told this briefly the other day on the last episode. I talked about I went to see him and the baby at the hospital, and I told him, "Hey, bro, I got a metal detector." And his first response, without skipping a beat, was, "Do you think that the Civil War place would let us go run the metal detector over it?" I was like, "Oh my God, of course. Why haven't I thought about that?" But nobody else reacts that way. Everybody's first question is like, "Why the fuck do you have a metal detector, you idiot?" And Mitch's response is, "Well, Johnny's a 12-year-old, I'm a 12-year-old, and so we think alike." And he's immediately on the same path as I am. He knows exactly where I'm headed with that metal detector. To find fucking treasure. What else are you going to do with a metal detector? Like, don't ask me why I have a metal detector in my possession. To find treasure. Who does anything with a fucking metal detector other than find treasure? That's honestly life goal, is to one day find treasure. If I could find like a pirate ship or something, Goonie style, and just get a bunch of treasure, I could take me out. I don't give a shit anymore. Life is complete. I want to dig up some treasure. If you've ever watched the TV show on History Channel, Oak Island, that is I followed that. I first learned about it on Ancient Aliens, which is where I learn about most things. Let's turn this microphone so y'all can hear me. There we go. So, I learned about it on Ancient Aliens, and then they made a TV show about it, which, yes, please. If you don't know about it, it's a giant hole in the ground in Canada, on like this island that's covered in oak trees, which apparently isn't indigenous to Canada. And they started digging down, and they start finding like platforms that are made out of oak every, like, I don't know, 20 feet down or something, like 9 feet down. I don't know. I have no idea what's a reasonable foot to dig. You know what I'm saying? Like, it could be 20 feet or it could be 8 feet. I guess 8 feet would be like 2 feet taller than me. So yeah, it could be like 20 feet down, I guess, every 20 feet, and then they dig down further. But yeah, they find these oak platforms, weird things on them. Maybe that's another episode right there. Man, good thing that I decided to do this episode by myself. It's about time somebody started coming up with some good show ideas. I'm going to write that one down. Oak Island. Yeah. I mean, why not? Like, nobody's heard me and Mitch talk about it, so I don't know. Who cares? We're going to talk about whatever we want. But that's probably my favorite thing about Mitch. Then my other favorite thing about Mitch is that he's always like insanely supportive. Anything we talked a little bit about this on our live stream. anything that I've ever sent him, he knows that I need affirmation about it. And so he just sends me, he's like, dude, that looks great. I'm like, awesome. I can post it then. Because as long as Mitch approves, as long as somebody approves of what I'm doing, then I'm like, okay, I'm confident now to move forward into putting this into the public space. But if I don't get that affirmation first, it's a big struggle for me to put it out there. It has to be perfect. I have to have it 100% perfect, and I'll spend days on it. I have like a drawing I did on my iPad of an astronaut, and I went into like super detail on it. I mean, like all the lines, everything. I just went way too far on it, and it's just not quite what I had pictured in my mind. I know that it's a good like digital painting, and don't think that like I just painted it out there, like not like that. I took a picture of an astronaut and then I used that. But yeah, I can't just like draw things like people do. That's weird. I have to have some sort of reference, or I like to, when I was working at the tattoo shop, and kind of learning how to tattoo, there's a lot of tracing that goes on. You trace and stack it on top of something else, and then, you know, if you want like roses, for instance, you draw a rough sketch of the roses, and then you draw something, you know, a little bit more concrete on top of that. But because it's a tattoo, you want it to be perfect. You can't have any like screwed up lines or anything like that. So then you'll go and you'll trace it, make sure that all the lines are just right. And then you might even trace it 4 or 5 times. It might need to be bigger, smaller, whatever. And then you'll take, you know, if you want a skull on top of the roses or whatever, super generic if that's what you want to do with your life. But then you would, you know, you'd take your drawing of the skull and you would maybe trace it over top of the roses, and then do that as one complete thing. So with the iPad, it's made that process a lot easier. You can, you know, for instance, I took a picture of my dog that was like a photograph, and then just trace over that. And the same thing with the astronaut. Like I traced the lines over it with the photograph, and then I filled in the paint how I wanted it and shaded it and stuff. My point was, it's just not quite there. And I know it's a good drawing or it's a good thing that I made, but I just can't like put it out there. It's just not, yeah, it's not good enough. And that's probably why I wouldn't consider myself a talented artist, because I see a lot of people that put out art. There's a lot of comic book artists that I think I'm probably a better artist than they are. But they just, they put out material so much, and it's like they're able to look at the bigger picture and be like, these screwed up lines are okay because the bigger picture, no, people aren't going to be looking at those little lines. They're going to be looking at the bigger picture. And that's where, I don't know how I got onto talking about art. But I think that's where the digital medium, as far as like, I do a lot of work on Adobe Illustrator for vector designs and logos and stuff like that. Hit me up. But that is much easier for me to work with because I can have it perfect all the time. I can digitally and mathematically align things. I can make a circle exactly the size that I want it, and I don't have to like screw around with it a bunch. So it makes it a lot easier to do that. My point where we started out with that was that Mitch is always really supportive, and I love him. And he's a good dude. You know, everybody people give him shit sometimes, and I don't get it. Like you meet Mitch and you talk to him a couple times, and you can tell that he is a genuine soul. You know, he is a genuine good person at his core. And I think that's important to note in people. You know, like we goof around and fuck off all the time and talk shit, and I say things on here. I was actually thinking about this. I say things on the podcast all the time where I go back and I'm like, you know what? I said that because I thought it was going to be funny, or I said it quickly in a response, and I don't think that people are going to understand the way that I wanted it to sound, or it was just honestly the wrong thing to say. But I can't go back then and apologize for everything that I said, right? And so in the podcast, not everybody can always see a person's intentions. I'm here to tell you, Mitch's intentions are good. He's a good, sweet soul. Not that everybody's like actually hating on him. But, you know, people are people and whatever. We got a really funny comment on our YouTube channel that I want to read to y'all. Maybe that guy is a listener, and guy or girl, I don't know if it's a guy or girl, but they can fill us in on what their intention was, because when I read it, I originally thought like, oh, this guy's kind of just being like, he's kind of being funny, but halfway serious. And when Bop read it, she was like, no, he's like trying to insult you. It's like a really just a poorly worded insult. And Mitch thinks that he was just being kind of weird, but nice as well. So anyways, hey, Oka, he or she commented, I'm writing a script on Count Dante's life and will be submitting it to Quentin Tarantino. Given that it takes place in the 70s, involves dojo wars, a pet lion, and I am certain that the script will be, and a pet lion, I am certain that the script will be accepted for consideration. Did I mention, which like being accepted for consideration, we're going to think about thinking about making a movie. That's what he's saying. We're considering thinking about making a movie on your script. That's just weird. Then he says, yeah, wait. Did I mention that Dante's friend was killed with a sword? Yeah, Tarantino will be all over this. Good luck reaching Joe Rogan levels, which I don't know if he's saying like, good luck because you guys are about to blow the fuck up, or if he's like, good luck, losers. I suspect your ability to do so is directly proportional to my ability to write a script that would be accepted by Quentin Tarantino. And see, that's what makes me think it's kind of a joke, is that he that last line, he's obviously like, it's not riding on this guy's shoulders, whether we are popular and make it or whatever. However, the Count Dante episode, when we talked about Count Dante and the Chicago Dojo Wars, I don't know what happened with that episode, but we struck gold because that thing has been blowing up. People have been commenting on it like crazy. Everybody's been all about that episode. I don't know what we did differently. We tried to recreate it. We tried like following up with some of the techniques that we did differently on that episode, because we did a lot of things different that episode. We brought Stephanie on, who we've fired twice today. She got fired for the live stream. Now she's fired right now. That's why she's not here. We had Stephanie on that episode. We also stopped numbering our episodes and started titling them. I figured that the podcast, because like, you don't have to see the number of the podcast. Nobody gives a shit about, is this episode 31 or whatever. Like, it's nice for like to categorize things and organize things, of course. So people can then go back and be like, this was episode 1, and we still have that listed on there. But when you're scrolling through like, what episode should I listen to? Or you remember that episode where they talked about Count Dante? Yeah, what episode was that? I don't want to have to be able to go through and be like, it was episode 20, episode whatever. They can go back and look at like, it was Count Dante episode. I want to listen to that again because they did, they had an album review that I liked or whatever. It's another thing. We're going to be doing album reviews again soon. I might just do one right now off the top of my head here in about 9 seconds, because I want to see if this is going to cut me off at 20 minutes or not. But we'll see. 2, 1, bingo. Oh, we're still going. Awesome. Okay. My camera, I don't know if my camera is going to like just keep recording or shut off at 20 minutes. I have it plugged in, so we'll see how it goes. It's at 20 minutes now. It should be fine. Album review. I'll have to think of an album and tell you all about it. Maybe by the end of this podcast, I'll come up with something. Another question that I got was, and this requires some context, but they had asked me, have I tried a shower orange yet? And for those of you that don't know what a shower orange is, I might have talked about it on an early episode. Shower oranges. There's a subreddit called Shower Orange. I don't know who started it, but it's apparently I don't feel like I have to explain it. You go into a shower and you eat an orange. I don't know if it was something that's like a troll community. Like, let's troll everybody and convince them that we like to eat oranges in the shower, or like it does something for you. I don't know what the point is. My friend says that it's just like, and this is kind of what I thought, is just like, you're in the shower, oranges are messy, then you just eat the orange in the shower and you clean. You don't have to do nothing. You just get all the stickiness off you. My argument was, so are pancakes. And I don't see a bunch of people run into the shower to eat pancakes. Spaghetti, but it's another one that's messy. Nobody's eating spaghetti in the shower. So you tell me, what are they doing? I don't know. What I don't understand it. Another thing we talked about on the episode. Ooh, I gotta write down this one too. Okay, the other one that we talked about is Trapped, the band. They sing the song Headstrong. I'm not gonna try and sing it for you because I screw that up all the time. It'll sound like fucking We Wish You a Merry Christmas or something. Anyways, Headstrong. There's like a new metal band from 2005. I don't know. But it's one of those obnoxious songs that play on radio stations called The Edge, which like every new metal radio station is like The Edge. I don't think there's even another name for a new metal radio station. I've never heard one like a different name. What would you even fucking name something like that? What else can you name a radio station that only plays new metal? You can't. It's The Edge. That's the only thing that you can name them. Edge 19. Nobody even listens to the radio anymore. Who's keeping these people popular? Anyways. Oh, I'm getting heated. Trapped. The band Trapped. They're terrible. They're one of the worst bands on the planet. They're right there with Creed. Anyways, they've started to eat themselves alive and completely fall apart on Twitter. And it's amazing to watch. Everybody just keeps stoking the fire. Apparently this guy has tweeted like 900 times in 48 hours. And it started because he was like, well, it's not racist to call the coronavirus the China virus because that's where it comes from. That's stupid because everyone has it everywhere. And it's like, it just doesn't make it. That kind of thinking doesn't make any sense. Like, unless you have cold, hard evidence that like the Chinese people as a whole were like, yeah, fuck everyone else. We're going to give them this virus, which I don't think happened. I don't know much about China or how society works, but I've never seen anybody do that with the exception of like World War II and like the Nazis. If it were a situation like that, maybe I'd be a little bit more leery about it, but it's just not. Like, anyways, he just melts down, and like it gets to the point where they're having like these arguments. At the end of an argument, when somebody that has the maturity level of like a 10-year-old, usually 10-year-olds, we're like, well, how about you just shut up? How about that? Because they don't have anything else to say. It's like he literally says things like that, and it's cringeworthy. It's so cringy. I highly recommend going and looking at it. This is great. It's great to watch these people melt down. Just anybody in general. I don't care if they're like liberal or conservative or vegan or a carnivore. It doesn't matter to me who you are. I want to witness your meltdown on Facebook or Twitter, or if you're going to melt down, please make it public. Or do it in a public manner. Cause like, there's nothing better than watching people just have like a full blown freak out and just losing their mind. It's so much fun to watch. I'll probably have it one day and you guys will get to watch. With as much as like I like to do things involving like filming, I'm probably gonna have like some, I don't know, there's like actors and comedians all the time that have those kinds of freak outs. So is it Christian Bale? Didn't he have like one where he just started screaming at everybody or something? I don't know. I'll probably have like some kind of moment like that where I'll just explode and start like freaking out. Who knows? That sounds like I'm making like some terrible plan. But it's not the case. But anyways, moving on. Another thing we talked about is my new favorite documentary, and I think that everybody needs to watch this. It goes along with watching people freak out. It's on Amazon Prime. It's called Shut Up, Little Man. And it's so funny. It's these guys move in next door. I'm not going to there's not much to give away, but these guys move in next door to, when they move into this apartment, their landlord tells them like, hey, your neighbors like to get pretty loud. They fight and argue quite a bit. So you might hear them. Like, okay, whatever. They were like young, so they didn't really have any other choice. It was cheap. And so then after a couple of days, they start hearing the fighting and the arguing going on. And it gets to the point where it's keeping them up at night, and they start listening because these people are being so loud, and they start to identify that there's two men in there that are arguing. One is a complete asshat, drunk and homophobe. And they're like, mind you, they're like 70 years old. They've been living together like 20 years. This guy's like total asshole, a drunk and a homophobe. And then the other guy is just a 70-year-old gay man. It's so the homophobe just screams slurs at him all night long. Just sits there and gets drunk, screaming slurs at him. And then he'll just randomly just start talking shit for nobody will be saying anything. And he'll just start in with I was in the fucking war. What'd you do with yourself? Everybody says I'm not a man. I am a man. I'm a goddamn man. And the other guy's just like, nobody was talking. Exactly. Shut the fuck up. And there's another time he goes, the gay guy goes, good night. He goes, don't you fucking call me good night. Oh, it's so funny. I haven't seen a documentary that good in a really long time. It's really, really funny. I highly recommend everybody watch it. I only hope that if I'm single at that age, that I can find a situation that I can talk shit to somebody as much as I want, and they just put up with it and deal with me. Not necessarily in a racist or homophobic way. Just me and Mitch. That's what'll happen. Me and Mitch will get old together, and I'll just be shit talking, barking orders at him, and he'll just have to put up with me because we don't have any. We're just two assholes that chased everybody out of our lives, and now we're all by ourselves. That sounds like a good retirement plan. Mitch has probably got a better retirement plan than I do, so I can just hitch a ride with him. Hitch my wagon to that star. Shut Up Little Man. Go watch that. That's really, really, really good. Had some other things to talk about. I don't remember what they were. So we'll talk about boxing. One of them I guess the next episode on the next week, we're going to talk about Arturo Gatti, his suicide, and if it's been ruled as a suicide, but there are a lot of things that suggest that it could be a murder. So we're going to kind of dive into that. And I think that could be a really interesting episode. But what I wanted to talk about is I had watched, if you haven't seen it, you have to watch Mickey Ward versus Arturo Gatti. It's like a legendary fight. I'm sure that everybody's seen it. If you haven't, then you need to go watch it. It's exactly why I love fighting and why I love boxing, why I felt a passion for fighting, why I was driven to fight, because one of the things that Arturo Gatti said after this fight was he said, I'm always going to win fights. I'm always going to have good fights until I run into somebody that's just like me. And tonight I ran into somebody just like me. And I'd heard that and I'd seen that fight. There's one specific round. I think it's round 7, where you'd think that Arturo Gatti was a zombie. I mean, he took so many shots. He was out on his feet for most of that round. And there's just this one combo where he takes maybe 8, 9 shots clean to the chin and just keeps walking forward. And that to me is when you watch, there's a documentary about it where Jim Lampy's talking about it, or Lampney or whatever his name is. Several other people are talking. The referee that ref that fight is talking. And they're describing it and they start tearing up because they realize that they were a part of history. They were in a moment that I don't think that anybody can really understand. They were a part of a moment that nobody else gets to be a part of. And that was to me in fighting, I have this weird sick obsession where I actually wanted the war. I wanted the fight where we just went back and forth, blow for blow, and beat the living shit out of each other, because I wanted to see how long I could push myself. I know that I can, if I'm beating up somebody, I can beat somebody up for as long as I fucking want. That's no problem. I want to see how much I can take and continue giving back. That's where the test was for me. If I'm beating somebody, it's remarkably easy to continue beating somebody's ass. It's incredibly hard to start beating their ass. If it's two equally talented fighters, the guy that gets the momentum behind him usually can, if he can keep that going, he'll always win. So once you get that momentum going, it's easy to maintain the momentum. But if that gets interrupted or you can't get the momentum going, then it starts falling apart. But when you have two people that just consistently push their will and their same pace, that's whenever it gets really interesting. And that fight, you just have to watch it. It's incredible. All 3 of their fights are just insanity. Mickey Ward is the guy that they made the Mark Wahlberg movie about. It's every boxing movie and Boston movie. Anything about Boston has Mark Wahlberg in it. I saw a meme where it was we got a movie about corrupt cops from Boston, and the picture is Mark Wahlberg sprinting down the street. I'll be there. But yeah, the movie Warrior? What was that? No, it was just called The Boxer or something like that. I don't remember what it was called. It had Christian Bale and Mark Wahlberg in it. And I don't know who else. Great movie. I think it was nominated for an Academy Award or something like that. And that whole movie is about Mickey Ward, who's who Arturo Gatti faced. And what's interesting about that fight is both of them, and Arturo Gatti, before this fight, they started questioning his chin. They were like, he's taken too many shots. That's how every Arturo Gatti fight, he is getting the living dog piss kicked out of him until he beats, while he's beating somebody up. It's pretty amazing to watch. He took a lot of abuse. And so, before that fight, he had taken an incredible amount of abuse. He had already been a world champion, and lost his world champion, his title. And so they were like, he's out. He's, on his way down. He might get one more shot at the title as a contender, but probably not. Mickey Ward was like, I think his record was like 35-11 or something like that. Like, those guys don't get big fights. And somehow they matched up. They were like, okay, these are two guys on the downward swing. Let's match them up. And it ended up being fireworks, and they ended up getting 3 fights out of it. Mickey Ward got his first $1 million payday in their second fight, which again is like unheard of for guys with that record. It just doesn't work like that in boxing. In MMA, it can. Guys will have records of 27-11 or whatever, and you'll see them in the UFC doing well. But it's just it's a totally different setup. But yeah, so we're going to talk about the Arturo Gatti suicide and murder and stuff like that. I don't remember what else I was going to talk about. I was supposed to come up with an album review by now, but I haven't. I haven't listened to any music now that I think about it since the whole quarantine thing started. Yeah, I haven't listened to any music, which is weird. And it's podcasts. People haven't been listening to podcasts as much. Our podcast listens have gone down. But it's tough when you're starting at 0 to go anywhere below that. But I guess across the board, podcast episodes are getting less listens because of nobody's driving, which is, I've really thought that people would continue listening to podcasts because they're going to get bored with watching TV or whatever. But then again, like, nobody listens to the radio. Nobody listens to the radio anymore because they have a television, they have video games, they have so many other things that they can do. So I get that, I guess. I haven't been listening to podcasts. I haven't been listening to music. I haven't been really doing anything. I've taken this time to just this has been self-care week for Jonny. I haven't been working. Nobody's asked me to do anything. I haven't done shit for the podcast. I haven't. There was one day that I got off the couch to go to the bathroom and to eat, and that was it. I didn't leave the same spot for. I wouldn't be surprised that if I had bed sores that day. That's so disgusting. I'm gonna start losing muscle mass in my legs if I don't start getting up and doing some stuff. But I talked about it on the podcast. I got a miter saw, everybody. This is exciting. It's a Craftsman miter saw, fully rotational, can cut at 45 degrees, both at an angle, and it also sideways like this. It can go whoop this way and this way. So if you have to go watch the YouTube video so you guys can see what angles my new saw can cut at. And so yesterday I just randomly, it was like, I'm going to remodel the laundry room. And so I started doing that at 3 p.m. Because I was bored as shit. What else is there to do, I guess? And so I'm going to build a fence while this is going on, if it will ever stop raining. I could get a lot of stuff done in my yard and outside of my house if it would just stop raining. It hasn't stopped raining for 3 months. We moved here in January. We bought this house in January. I'm not kidding. We've had maybe 2 whole weeks of dry days since we've lived here. I don't think that I'm exaggerating at all. It's crazy how much it's rained here. We are turning into a temperate rainforest as climate change proceeds. That's what Arkansas is going to turn into, a fucking temperate rainforest. That's what I think is going to happen. We're going to start having like toucans flying around, and there's going to be big old anacondas, and what else roams around in a temperate rainforest? Temperate is it's like, it's not hot, it's not cold, but it's like really rainy. I'm thinking like Washington. No, because it's not a rainforest. I'm thinking like, I don't know what I'm thinking. Like a medium, not hot rainforest, not like Vietnam, but like more mediocre temperatures, I think is what's going to happen. I don't know why this is important for me to explain to you guys. This is the dumbest theory that I have. But yeah, that's what's going to happen. And we're going to be living in the jungle soon because we've got so much damn rain. It's blowing me away. I want to build a fence, but I can't because everything is like, the water table here is up so high. We have a root cellar that is like partially underground, and I don't think that it has any leaks in it. It just has the water table is up so high that it's like up into our root cellar, which is it's crazy. I don't know like if it's ever gonna stop raining. Maybe 2020 is like the year where everything is just like, nah, dude, we're done. Mother Earth has just had enough of our shit, and now we're paying for it. But what do I know? You're here, right? I promised myself also that I wasn't gonna go back and edit anything out, because that would be cheating myself. I'm trying to get better at like talking to the camera, talking on the microphone, talking as a podcast host, as a podcast professional. It's really difficult though. It really is. We tried one episode. I got the idea where what was the last episode? I was like, okay guys, I watched this video of how to properly introduce a topic or a guest or whatever. Like you don't come out and say like, we got Michael Jackson today in the studio. You don't just come right out the door with that. You got to set it up and be like, we got a Grammy nominated artist. He's been in this. You've heard him and this and this. He's got a new album coming out. Welcome, Michael Jackson, And so you got to build it up. And so we talked about it. We're all like circled around and like, this is how it's going to go. And we just 100% dropped the ball as soon as we started talking on the microphone. And that's what I was afraid was going to happen on here. When I got on here, I was gonna get on here and be like, and totally freeze, which I haven't. I've been pretty proud of myself. I've done well. If I go back though and I edit my stuff out, if I edit that out, it's going to be more difficult for me next time because then I'll strive for that perfection and I won't get it, and then I'll have to go back and edit it out. So if I do it now and I'm okay with like, if I think that it's shitty and I still put it out, then I know the next time, as long as it's better, as long as I feel better about it than the last one, then I'm happy. So I can put things out that are at a reasonable amount of shittiness to start, so that I have a launching place. The next time, if I can just get over that first hump, I've put out the episode, it's shitty, I'm not happy with it, but it's already out. So what are you going to do about it, Johnny? You're going to leave it alone and you're just going to let it ride. And then the next one, as long as I feel a little bit better about it than I did the previous week, then it's easy. I can put it out. Be like, all right, it was an improvement. and I know that people can see that I'm consciously trying to improve what's happening. And that's where the podcast actually has been so easy, because the first one that we put out, the volume was really low. I should go back there and see if I can like bring the volume back up and republish that episode. That'd be pretty cool to go back and do. Maybe we'll do that on an episode where like something like this happens next time, so that I don't have to sit here for an hour and a half and talk to myself. That would be such a much better idea. Good thinking, Johnny. 45 minutes in, I could have just gone back and republished an old episode. God damn it. I don't know. I don't remember what I was talking about before I got into that. But now I'm pretty upset at myself that I didn't just go back and republish that. Oh, the reasonable level of shittiness. That episode was pretty shitty, but it was pretty good still too. When we put that out, I remember being like, you know what? This came out way better than I thought. Like, this sounds good. The volume was shit on it, but the episode was good. And then the next one, I was like, this is even better. And I remember with Mitch, I was like, dude, we've somehow stumbled across what we're good at. Somehow me and Mitch, like, stars aligned, and we realized that we're good at podcasting. And then it became easier and easier because we became more and more confident about it. In a way, it's like, I think it's like, it's just like jiu-jitsu. Everything's just like jiu-jitsu. Everything's just like boxing, kickboxing. I can relate it all. Like, music is that way to me as well. Art is that way. I can relate it to jiu-jitsu and back and forth and so on and so forth. Well, I will say that it's easier for me to relate art to jiu-jitsu than it is for me to relate jiu-jitsu to art. I more in approaches towards art. So like things like, I know if I want to be a better painter, then I need to paint every fucking day. And that's why I'm not good at drawing. Is like, I was complaining earlier, I just can't sit down and like draw things out. Well, I never practice that. Like, I never do it. So I'm never going to get good at it. And I don't necessarily want to. It would be really cool talent to have, but I don't give a shit enough to like sit down and draw a lot. I can draw adequately for what I do. And then I have the computer for the rest. But that's the point. I don't do it. So like the way that I approach problems are always going to be backed by jiu-jitsu. I've spent so long doing jiu-jitsu and fighting and MMA, kickboxing, all of it, that my problem solving abilities have now, they're kind of the same. You know, like I problem solve by way of jiu-jitsu a lot of the times, or the way that I approach it is the way that I approach jiu-jitsu. So I've learned, or something I've learned from, we'll say that, something I've learned from jiu-jitsu. But I don't, my point was like, I can sit there and take jiu-jitsu and picture it as an art, as a painting, as like, I've played a lot with, like in music, I would play a lot with different rhythms, and I try to incorporate that into my rolling, into my training, into kickboxing. I do that a lot with. I think about, what if you were to assign different notes for different strikes or things like that? What would the music of a fight end up sounding like? So if you like say, your left hand was A, your right hand was a G, your left leg was a C, and your right leg was an E. And so every time you kicked with your right leg, it played an E chord. Every time you punched with your right hand, it played what did we decide that was, a G chord? I don't remember. And so what would the music of that fight sound like? And then if you put the other person, the harmony of those notes, what would, and then you get the fight going, what would that sound like? I think that'd be a really cool, like, that'd That sounds like something that like the people from Mythbusters would do, or Fight Science, something like that. If you were to do that, and then I've talked about too. I just know that there's a mathematical way to figure out how to break bones. I know that it's out there, or how to figure out leverage, to gain leverage on a bone. I know it's out there. You just have to make up the rules and the bounds of how it works, right? Like the math isn't just gonna fall out of your body or appear like what's the fucking Da Vinci, the human body or whatever. It's just gonna pop up like you're the greatest mind or whatever. But if you assign numbers to different parts of the body, I've talked about this on the last episode, I'm not going to go into it. Then you can add them up, and you would, if I have this many points stacked up against this many points, then that's going to win. Maybe one day I'll dive super deep into it. I'll do like, I don't know, some kind of weird hallucinogen or something, and dive into it and start teaching seminars on the secret math of jiu-jitsu. I hate that. That would probably sell. I would probably be a superstar if I came out with a DVD called The Secret Math System of Jiu-Jitsu. Yeah. And then everybody would just go apeshit over it. Because people want the secret. They want like the secret technique, the trick. Like everybody's going crazy about Rickson Gracie doing invisible jiu-jitsu. It's so dumb. Like I don't know if the Gracies necessarily sat there and were like, we can convince these idiots that we have invisible jiu-jitsu, or if they probably were sitting around a lot like I would and be like, what's a good catchy name for this? What's a good attention grabbing name that's going to get people all riled into this and really, really all about it? What happens is it turns into people start to think, if you hear somebody say invisible jiu-jitsu, you're never going to think, oh, wow, that sounds like a completely logical and reasonable method and system, because nothing, it just doesn't make any sense. I don't know. And maybe they did. Maybe I'm discounting how much of douchebags they are. Maybe they did sit there and be like, whatever, we can convince everybody. Like Rickson's old now. Everybody's going to think that he's got all kinds of crazy unseen magic tricks. They hide tapes. I forget who it was. They had a Japanese catch wrestler maybe showed up at Rickson's house to challenge him to a fight or something like that. And then the media was there and all of that. And Rickson said, okay, I'll do it. But the media can't be in. And there's like only one tape in existence of this fight. And the Gracie family won't release it. But Rickson won the fight and beat the guy. It's like, why won't you release it? I don't understand. Like, you're all about this kind of stuff. And I think it's what it is that they don't want people to see the bullies that they are, honestly. I bet if you watch that video, you would start to feel, there would be a point where you start to feel uncomfortable watching it, because it's no longer two grown men trying to settle a disagreement by through sport or through even conflict. I'll bet you it becomes a point where it's like a man fighting a boy. Or maybe it just went too far. Who knows? That'd be a good video to get my hands on. We did like AGF asked us to do like a technique video, and because of the coronavirus, we can't do it. Because I'm not gonna drive all the way to Conway. We're on like lockdown and shit. I'm not gonna drive back to Conway and get on my mats and all of that. So I've been quarantining myself. Me and Mitch did a video today of different technique or different things that helped us get to black belt. 5 things that helped us get reach black belt. I'm saying a lot. I gotta stop. I didn't want to do a video that was like 5 things to make you a successful black belt, because I've always believed that I shouldn't tell people how to do something until I've done it. And it's not up for me to decide if I'm a successful black belt or when I'm a successful black belt. And I will probably never feel like I'm a successful black belt. But I feel like 3 years into my black belt is probably not the time whenever I would consider myself a successful black belt. I got my black belt successfully, but not a successful black belt. So my point was, we made a video, 5 things that helped us get our black belt. We wanted to make it a little bit more like personal to us, things that helped us. So hopefully it would actually help you guys. If you haven't watched it yet, it's probably not out yet, but it will be in the future. So pay attention to that. I think AGF will be releasing it. Our good friends over there, Chris Carlino, asked us to send it over. One of the things that we talked about was, I have these books that I love. I have stacks of them that before the internet, when I got into jiu-jitsu, like the internet was there. We had MySpace, all of that stuff. But it wasn't quite the streaming internet. Like, we didn't have the video capability like we do now. YouTube was a thing, but it was still like very new. And nobody was on YouTube doing jiu-jitsu. Jesus Christ. Jiu-jitsu was still like, it was also around, I think the internet and jiu-jitsu kind of like came up together, and so like YouTube it wasn't on there. Anyways, these books, I would find them at Borders, and I thought I was like the only person in the world that was buying them. And it turns out I was, because now on Amazon, they're seriously going for like $400-$500. And I have over 10 of these kinds of books. Where did I put it? It's all the way over on that chair. There's no chance I'm going to show you guys what it is. The Jiu-Jitsu University books, 365, or Drill to Win by Andre Galvo, the Marcelo Garcia, the X-Guard books, the Eddie Bravo 10th Planet books. Henzo has a couple. The Jackson, the Greg Jackson books, those are pretty decent. There's another one that's like Warrior Cardio, Warrior Strength and Conditioning. I think that guy's name is Martin Rooney, I believe. He owns Parisi Speed School. He's like part owner in that, and he's Frankie Edgar's strength and conditioning coach for a long time. He's got 3 books that are out that are really good. Anyways, these books all have like great content. And there's something about having the paperback, like the physical book, that just makes it so much easier for me to look through the information and actually like spend time studying it. The PDF, like I have my iPad, but it just doesn't, it's not the same. I have a hard time reading on my iPad. These books are like worth $400 or $500 now. I think I've seen them like $600-$700, and they're invaluable. I don't think I would ever sell them. I really don't. There's so much good content in it. There's so much valuable content that I found over the years that I don't think I could get rid of them. Anytime I have a student asks me a question and I don't know what the answer is, I usually go back to one of those books and look through that for the answer. And almost always will find it out of one of 2 books. And I don't know why I brought that up, but it was something to talk about. If you don't have those books, you should go buy them. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up because we're 2 minutes till this thing cuts off again. Sorry this was the loneliest podcast that you've ever seen. Just me by myself. I hope I was decently entertaining. again, I just couldn't let it go. We weren't going to put out an episode on Monday. I couldn't let it happen. I just couldn't. So it is 10 o'clock right now, and I'm sitting in my spare bedroom talking shit to myself. And that's okay. Sorry that we didn't get the YouTube stream working the way that we wanted to. That was also a reason why I wanted to make sure that we got this up to make up for that. We're still working on getting all those kinks ironed out and getting them working. I've got patches that I owe to some people. I need to get those in. Subscribe to our Patreon so that you can receive that content. Our next stream should be only available through our Patreon if we can get all that figured out. So go subscribe on there. That helps us out a lot, actually. It really, really does. I think if there were only 4 or 5 people on there, then it wouldn't help us out that much. $15 a month, whatever that, that's awesome, and it's generous that people would give us any amount of money. But to be honest, like $15, $20 a month, that just doesn't help us grow the way that we want to grow. But because we have we've built a community, which is amazing. It's incredible to me that we have this community of people that are all like, we had 25 people that got on, or 28 people that got onto our live stream and talked with us and hung out. And what? Who does that? Who wants to hang out with us that bad? That's crazy. So thank you guys for coming on there and doing that. It's just really cool that we have a community that's been helping us grow and also shares the vision that we do with it. So thank you. I hope that everybody is doing great at home and having as much fun being a lazy piece of shit as I am, because it's been fantastic. I think next week I'm going to try not to be such a lazy piece of shit and do things productive. Anyways, make sure you listen to us on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and anywhere you can find these podcasts. Hit us up on Instagram. Hit us up on YouTube. We've been getting a lot of comments on YouTube. Subscribe to our Patreon. And I will see you guys next week. Have a good one, and peace.